We do apologize for the disconnection there, but we are going to go ahead and continue. We were talking about the Seahawks and the Steelers. Do you have anything to add to the Seahawks before we move on?
No, we can move on.
Okay, so the Steelers beat the Seahawks 24-0, but they got blown out by the Ravens last week. Who are the Steelers?
Well, the Steelers are Steelers. They're from Pittsburgh. They're the Steelers, and they're a good team. They got a great quarterback in Big Ben Roethlisberger. They got receivers in Mike Williams and Hines Ward. They got great running back in Rashard Mendenhall. Their defense is always great. That is what I like to call linebacker you. If you are a linebacker and you want to know how to play the position, you go to Pittsburgh. They will teach you how to be a linebacker. The reason that the Steelers got blown out by the Ravens is because the Ravens are great compared to the Seattle Seahawks. You put the Ravens and the Seahawks on the same field, Ravens are going to win every time. Their defense is always crazy, and their offense is great. They're running on all cylinders. They finally have a few good bona fide receivers, which they didn't have in previous years. Ray Rice is always running over anything in his way. Joe Flacco is playing at a high level. They have another great backup in Tyrod Taylor, just as they did in Troy Smith. The Ravens beat them because they were simply better, and they were better on that day. Now, the reason that the Steelers won this week is because they played a very, very horrible team. When they come up against another team that will give them a challenge, then things will get a little bit harder. But as far as them playing the Seahawks, it's the Steelers and the Seahawks. 3 Super Bowls within the last 10 years. How many Super Bowls for the Seahawks? 0.
Oh, and not to mention, the Steelers and Seahawks did play in the Super Bowl in 2005 as well. But moving on here, saying the Ravens are a great team, and tell me why the Titans beat the Ravens 26-13, being the great team that they are. Who are the Ravens?
Well, the Ravens are still a very good team, just as well as does the Pittsburgh Steelers. You win some, you lose some. Okay, you're not going to win every game, and yes, you may win. You may lose to a team that you may not have thought you should lose to, but I mean, you have ups and downs. You have good games, you have bad games. This was one of their bad games. The Ravens will bounce back. They will rebound. It's not going to be this isn't a season ender. We're not even through the first quarter of the season, so there's no reason for the Ravens to panic. The Ravens will do fine. Everybody will do okay. Joe Flacco will be fine. Ray Lewis is still going to run that defense like he has for all those years.
So now we're going to talk about the Titans, who did beat the Ravens 26-13. My main question on the Titans here is, can Matt Hasselbeck turn the page from Seattle and win in Tennessee?
No. Matt Hasselbeck is on the downward slope of his career. As I stated before about Donovan McNabb, he's just not going to be able to take that team as far as people think he is. You need a veteran presence to teach the rookie quarterback that you have. That is why Matt Hasselbeck is there. Jake Locker will learn from Matt Hasselbeck. He will teach him the right way. He will teach him how to be a great pocket quarterback, because Matt Hasselbeck was a great quarterback in his time and in his prime. This is the downward slope of his career. He is there to teach Jake Locker, to help groom Jake Locker. Jake Locker will take over that team and take that team to the next level. Chris Johnson, on the other hand, must step his game up. You got a new contract. You fought for it. You cried for it. You wanted it. Now you got the money. It's time to show and prove, baby. Give us another 2,000-yard season. I love you, and we want you to keep progressing and keep going forward. But 50 yards a game just ain't gonna cut it. Not for the money you getting paid, baby. You getting paid the big bucks. You got to play like the big boys.
I do agree with that statement here. The Redskins just barely edged out the Arizona Cardinals 22-21. Arizona Cardinals are 1-1. They have a new quarterback. What can Cobb do for you?
Kevin Cobb can still do great things for that team. I believe that Kevin Cobb is definitely going to be okay. From his first 2 games, he looks pretty good. He looks like he's going to do really nice for the Arizona Cardinals. I think that Larry Fitzgerald only signed that 7-year deal because he felt that Cobb could get him somewhere that he's only been once, and that's the Super Bowl. He wants to go back, but next time he goes back, Larry Fitzgerald wants to win. And he feels that Kevin Cobb is going to be able to help him get there. And I think that team will do good with Cobb around him. I think they found themselves a nice franchise quarterback. Let's hope he continues to play throughout the season. Remember, it's only 2 games where he's actually starting. and he's in a little bit more different of an offense. Even though it's still the same basics, there's still different things. So we'll see how he continues to progress as the year goes on.
And the Skins, they're 2-0. Is Rex's career reborn, and is the Washington Redskins franchise reborn?
Well, now it's only 2 games into the season. I'm not gonna say Rex's career is reborn. Rex is playing very good, but I'm not gonna say his career is reborn. I'm gonna give him, a thumbs up on that, just strictly based on the fact that Rex went ahead and did what he had to do. He made sure that team got over the hump. They won the game, and you got to applaud him for his performance in these first 2 games this season. Career reborn, I don't know. I do believe that somebody whose career who could possibly be reborn would be Tim Hightower. He seems to be very at home where he is, and that is his home technically, and he does feel a little bit more comfortable in that offense, and he is now the starting running back. Whereas Clinton Portis used to be there, but he is no longer with the Skins.
So now we're going to talk about the Cowboys and the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the 49ers, because I know you have plenty of opinions on them, we're going to talk about the Cowboys. They're 1-1 right now. Tony Romo has a punctured lung to go with his ribs. So what should Dallas do this week with them playing the 2-0 Washington Redskins?
Well, Dallas, that organization is going to make the right decision for themselves. Would they like Tony Romo on the field? Of course. You want your starting quarterback to be on the field. But that organization is going to check things out. They're going to see if they can take the necessary precautions to get him on the field and make sure that he's protected enough to a point where he does not get hit if he is on the field. If he's not on the field, they're going to have to throw John Kidden out there to the Wolves, man, and keep going and keep playing and hope that he can get them a few wins while Tony Romo rests and get that lung and get that rib back together, and that's all they can do.
So now we're going to talk about the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
They lost a crushing one in overtime to the Cowboys. My question to you, quite simply, who was to blame in that game?
There are 2 people to blame for the loss in that game. That is the 49ers secondary and their coach, Jim Harbaugh. There were 6 points that he could have had. And right before the half, he could have had 3 points. And instead of him taking the penalty and kicking off from the 50-yard line, which made no sense at all, he should have taken the penalty, kept the drive alive, possibly gotten another 3, or possibly gotten them a 6 with a score, and they would have been up, and they never would have lost this game. The 49ers secondary is the reason to blame, because that has always been their Achilles heel for the past 5 years. Their front 7 is solid. You will not get past Patrick Willis, Ray McDonald, Ajiso Pawaga, Justin Smith, or any of those guys. Aldon Smith is actually playing in a very high level. They bring him in when they need to, but his wingspan is outrageous, and he's doing great things for the little bit of time that he is in there. He always makes an impact when he does come in. Their secondary has always been the problem. They are not fast enough to keep up with the speedy guys, the Roddy Whites, the Lee Evans, the Steve Smiths. All these guys that are running 4.240s, it's Chris Johnsons. All these guys that are blowing past them, they're blowing past them because they're slow, simply and plainly. I'm not going to sit up here and sugarcoat anything for anybody. I'm going to give you the truth. The 49ers secondary must get faster and younger, and it has to be done a lot quicker if they ever want to get past this, if they ever want to get to the playoffs or the Super Bowl, because that would be their Achilles heel. Coach Jim Harbaugh, I can see that you're still a rookie head coach with those 2 decisions that you've made. You showed some rookiness in you, but hopefully you'll make right decisions on the next chance.
Now we're going to talk about the Broncos and the Bengals. We'll get to the Broncos in a second here. The Bengals lost only by 2 to the Broncos, and they're 1-1. Do you see any bright spots on this team?
The Bengals are always going to be okay. I believe Andy Dalton going forward will be a good franchise quarterback for them. It's going to take them a little bit of time to get over this hump. Make sure that their O-line is intact so that they can keep Andy Dalton upright. They're going to need another back behind Cedric Benson. Because he is going to continue to get a little older. It's nothing against him. He's just doing great. And I see a few bright spots here and there. You can call them the new 49ers because they picked up most of the 49ers. They have Manny Lawson. They've got Nate Clements, and they've got Taylor Mays. Taylor Mays' knee injury has kind of prevented him from playing a lot. But Manny Lawson and Nate Clements are actually playing pretty well.
And as far as the Broncos, they lost late to the Raiders last week and won late to the Bengals 24-22. They actually used Tim Tebow at wide receiver this past week. How far do you think the Broncos will go, and then what should they do with Tim Tebow?
Well, once again, the general consensus is that Tim Tebow was not drafted by the people in that organization right now. Those guys didn't pick him up, so it's pretty much up to them what they want to do. I believe they should just continue to create packages for Tim Tebow because he is a great asset to that team. He can be sort of like a Reggie Bush without all the speed. I believe that every now and then, you can throw him in there in the Wildcat formation and have him do great things for you. Kyle Orton is their quarterback. He is their starter, and he is the one who should be at the helm. Tim Tebow, I don't believe, is ready for a full-time gig at the quarterback position, no matter how much the fans want. It's been said before, when Tim Tebow goes out and he messes up and he screws up, the fans won't take any credit for that. But if he wins, they'll take all the credit.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to talk about, very quickly, we've got 5 more games to cover here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about the Texans and the Dolphins. The Texans are 2-0, beating the Colts, and this week the Dolphins. Can they win the AFC South?
The Texans can win the AFC South. The number one reason is because there is no Peyton Manning, so the AFC South is up in the air. Matt Schaub and the Texans have every chance to go ahead and go far. As soon as Arian Foster gets healthy, they're going to be at full beast mode. Andre Johnson is just a complete man-child. He's a beast. There's no way to stop the guy. I don't care who you put on him. You can put Darrelle Revis on him. You can put Antonio Cromartie. You can put the greatest DBs in the league on this guy. He's still going to make plays. So dynamic.
So, watching the Dolphins, the only bright spot I have seen has been Chad Henne. I haven't seen anything good with their defense or their running game or anything like that. So my question to you is, what should the Dolphins do with the first-round pick next year?
The first-round pick that the Dolphins have next year, well, they got to shore up that O-line, and at the same time, they got to get themselves another wide receiver to go with Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall's great, but they need another wide receiving threat, and they got to continue to start building that defense.
Now we're going to talk about the Patriots and the Chargers. Patriots we'll get to in a second here. The Chargers, 1-1. They beat the Vikings and they lost to the Patriots. Can Phillip Rivers move that team far in the playoffs?
And Phillip Rivers has to move that team far in the playoffs. He has to be the guy to make sure that they do get far in the playoffs. There is no other choice for them, and it's got to make it hard for them not to be able to do anything in the playoffs if Phillip Rivers isn't there.
And how far can the Patriots go? Can they go 16-0?
The Patriots will not go 16-0, but they can go straight to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady playing at the level he is. He is just all out. He's going all out this year. His level of play is just unruly, and it's just too hard for defenses to deal with.
Okay, the Sunday night football game. Very quickly, we have the Falcons against the Eagles. The Falcons beat the Eagles 35-31. Mike Vick's concussion. What's going to happen with the Eagles from this point, especially if they have to start Mike Kafka?
Mike Vick's concussion right now is that's a minor setback. Give him probably about a week or 2 off. He'll be back on the field. If they have to go with Kafka, they got to go with Kafka. They've got enough faith in him to have kept him on the squad, so they feel like he can do some things. He was a little inconsistent here and there at Northwestern, but I think that he can get the job done at least until Mike Vick comes back.
Okay, and as far as the Falcons go, they got blown away by the Bears, who got blown away by the Saints. But they beat the Eagles and Mike Vick and that super team that they have over there. Mm-hmm. Who are they?
The Falcons are a really great team that just lost a game last week. They have all the pieces to the puzzle. The Falcons just have got to get it done.
And is the $40,000 fine enough for the Dante Robinson hit on Jeremy Maclin?
No, Dante Robinson should be suspended because he repeatedly does this. We do not want players injured in the NFL. Everybody loves to see a good hit. I love to see Ray Lewis or Pat Willis or anybody just get a good crack on a guy. But I don't want headshots for no reason. Dante Robinson, you need to knock it off.
All right, join us for part 3. We're going to talk about the Monday Night Football game. We're going to talk about the Chiefs and the Lions. And we're going to talk about the new rule that just went in place today about faking injuries. That'll be interesting. Join us on part 3.